I got a bit of an intro video for you guys today. It's for the new HaloOne salt therapy that we've developed, and I just wanted to showcase you a little bit of how we use it, what to consider, what comes in the package, just to make sure that you guys really feel safe and comfortable using it. So the first one is obviously the question is how is it attached? Can I use it in my sauna? Can I use it outside? The reason is you can use it both inside your sauna and outside your sauna. What I have here is the mounting system or the attachment system. We would recommend to place it when you sit in your infrared sauna or your Clearlight sauna on the top left side. It consists of two parts. The first one is essentially a wall mount. You can see it here. There are 4 screws and the level are provided with it. So just make sure that you sort of mount it. You screw it into the panel or into the side wall of your sauna. Make sure it's nice and leveled. And the second one is then the mounting system where the HaloOne connects to. So this one essentially comes on top. You can see it sort of slots in nicely. And when I let go of the left hand, you can see it sort of really sits nice in there. And then we'll get the HaloOne unit, which I have on my right hand side here. And the back part obviously has the counterpart, which means this can actually nicely slot in here. And then I can potentially just have it really on the side wall in here. So that's the first bit, which you actually need to make sure that you want to install it properly. You don't have to screw it in. You could also potentially put it on your bench, but obviously because there's salt particles in there with gravitation and the weight of the salt, it'll come down, which is why you have an interest in order really to assemble it above your head to make sure you have this really nice salt strudel sort of in the cabin. The second one is the HaloOne unit itself. It's battery charged, so it takes 4 to 6 hours until it's fully charged, and then you have sort of 5 to 6 cycles of actually using the halotherapy device, and then after that you have to take it out again, you have to charge it, there's a charging cable with it, so you don't have to worry about it. This is sort of where the salt capsules go in. You can see there's a capsule in here. I slot it in here, you really need to make sure that I keep the unit leveled at all time, otherwise the salt solution will run out of it. And then I have a couple of different functions. So the first one is if I turn the unit on, you can see there are a couple of LED lights in here. Those indicate the battery health or the battery charge on this device. So at the moment, there's 1 out of 4 dots, so it indicates me it's approximately 25% of the battery still remaining, which means I have to actually charge it shortly, or if the unit actually just stops working, I know the battery is empty. Second one is if I want to start it, I would click on it again for a second, and you can see this light instantly comes on, and this sort of salt mist actually also being created and being sort of spread into the cabin. This is sort of the normal rate. It'll last you 15 to 20 minutes. If you want to increase it because you're running out of time or because you don't want it on for the entire session, you can double the output by clicking the button on the left from your perspective here. And you can see there's already an additional sound, which means there's more salt being put in the air. I'll stop it now, but you can see that's the difference. And then there's a second feature here, which is a lighting function. So if I press it again, the light will stay on all the time. If I press it again, the light will be off for those of you that don't use this light or don't want the lighting function. And then there's a third function. And you can see the light fades. It fades in and fades out. And the idea is really that this mimics the ideal breathing session or the ideal breathing situation in order to calm your nervous system. So the idea is that on a day-to-day basis, we breathe too fast and not deep enough. And Dr. James Nestor has written a world-renowned book called Breath, which sort of speaks and advises and educates on this topic primarily. And he figured out that the ideal breathing cycle is sort of 4 to 5 seconds breathing in, and then 4 to 5 seconds breathing out. So per minute, we'll have 5 to 6 different breathing cycles. And you can see that this light can actually help you with that. So while you sit in here, you have the Halo unit on, you could look at the light and really focus on the breath in order to make sure that you calm your nervous system. If I'm done with the session, I'll just turn it off again. There's a timer function up here, which I forgot to remember, but I think that's pretty common sense. And you can see there's one out of 4 LED lights remaining, which means I have to charge it soon. And that should be all. Have fun with your first session. Yeah, that was one of the biggest problems I think we were facing during the entire innovation and development process. And obviously, we sort of looked at larger quantities, 50 milliliters, 100 milliliters NaCl saline solution, and sort of, glass bottles that you could actually then recycle. And we worked with pharmacists, sort of lab organizations, or lab equipment distribution companies, to really figure out whether there's anything we can do. But they all came back to us and said, after 2 or 3 days of having opened an NaCl saline solution, it's not sterile anymore. Not only that, there's a potential risk, or a severe risk, that mold and fungi is actually growing on these saline solution. That's without any external factors sort of going in there, or using recycled cups or whatever in order to pour it, but that's just pure to the fact that it's not sterile anymore. And that's why we have these saline solutions. It's a recyclable plastic, but it still is a plastic, and that was one of the things we wanted to prevent. But our own research and the experts that we've spoken with, they all said it's not feasible. Yeah, it's a really good question, and I think that actually led to the whole idea of developing our own salt therapy, because most of the salt therapies available use dry salt. It's literally salt crystals, and they're often through physical process are being grinded down into really, really dry, fine salt crystals, and they're then actually blown into the air for you to breathe in. But the problem in the sauna environment is that we easily exceed the moisture in the air of 40%. And by design, I mean, we sit in the sauna, we sweat, and through this, obviously, the moisture in the air sort of goes up. That as a consequence of that, quite often dry salt inhalation systems fail. And it's often quite mentioned in the terms and conditions or in the user manuals that dry salt inhalation only works in a non-humid environment. And whenever 40% is actually being exceeded, the dry salt and the wet air, they sort of come together, and it sort of clumps. And as a consequence of that, of gravitation, it then falls to the ground, and it doesn't even reach our nasal system or respiratory system. And that's why we sort of came up with a different solution, and we wanted to create something that's purely for the sauna environment, but you could use it outside the sauna too, where the salt that is actually being blown into the air doesn't actually clump, and it's not falling to the ground, because that's not effective. It's not the right way for an infrared sauna, or for a sauna in general. Therefore, what we've done is we developed a membrane, and on this membrane we sort of put this saline solution, which is water mixed with high quality pharmaceutical grade salt, and we sort of run through this membrane to create really, really fine particles of salt, but we use water as a carrier, so vapor, and as a consequence of that, it doesn't clump, and therefore we have a beautiful stream that is being created in the sauna without actually the salt literally falling down to the floor, and really making sure that the salt stays in the air for a long time, allowing us to breathe it in and witness the beautiful health benefits of this product. When you see the error code C5 being displayed on the display, that indicates that the smoke detector went off. And that obviously shouldn't be the case, because there's no smoke. We've never had a sauna that burned down or anything. But the interesting thing is that the salt mist, or the salt vapor from the HaloOne unit, has the same particle size as potential smoke, and therefore the smoke detector actually picks it up. And just to provide a bit of a backstory, we have a fair number of commercial clients, and quite often they run the sauna for up to 15 hours. So we've recently provided the sauna to the All Blacks in New Zealand, the world's most famous rugby team, and for them the sauna runs literally 15 hours a day. And therefore, obviously, the requirements to the materials are fundamentally different to a sauna that's only been used 2 to 3 times a week for an hour maximum. But we equipped all of the saunas with a smoke detector, because we figured, well, why not do it? It actually makes sense. But the downside is that, the fine particle size on the vapor can be picked up by the smoke detector. So if you see the error code C5 on display, it means the sauna turns down. It protects itself, although there's nothing to protect if you use the halotherapy. So just get in touch with us real quick. We'll walk you through of how you can deactivate the smoke detector, because it literally actually is needed for residential use. And then you're good to use the HaloOne therapy again.